Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to go over some things that I do in the Google Classroom. I'm going to share my screen here. We're going to introduce Google Classroom, and then I'm going to walk you through a lot of the things that I do with connecting with my students, sending out things for them to do, and how to leave that feedback that they need every day. So I'm going to share my screen here, and on my right computer here. All right. So everyone should see the Google Classroom. So like Colleen said, I'm Corey Coble. I teach up near Sacramento. I do 7th grade science, Project Lead the Way, and period of history. So I've been doing California League of Schools for a while. Really love their technology conference in Monterey, and they do some really great things. So I'm here to help show you and demonstrate how to use Google Classroom and be a resource for you throughout this remote teaching experience that we're going to be doing. So I want to close out my window. This is going to be a demo. It is being recorded, so I will be posting the recording and we'll be able to go through that. At the end, I'll show you some resources that we have that will help you. And if you've missed something or didn't quite catch that, because we're going kind of fast here, we only have about 40 minutes to present a lot of things in Google Classroom. So in Google Classroom, which is at classroom.google.com, this is where, as a teacher, I can set up a lot of my classes that I teach. If you are an upper grade teacher, I recommend a classroom for every period that you teach. You can keep things organized that way, send out specific things to specific classrooms or to all the classes that you teach at once. Primary teachers usually want to do a one classroom to be able to house all of your students. So I've set up a couple classrooms here. As a teacher, you want to go to the plus sign on the top right-hand corner and you want to create a class. So that's the first thing we're going to do is create a class. And this is going to be, let's say, a 3rd grade, and then maybe a name of a class. I'll just do my mascot there. So it's going to create a classroom for you. And this is what the classroom looks like. I can go over to here, my 3 dots, and go back to my 3 lines and go back and go to all my classes, either that I'm joined into or that I created myself. You can join other classes. So like in my district, when we went to this remote teaching, grade levels decided to have their own PLC classroom and join some classes from their colleagues from administration to share resources and things like that. So again, I'm going to go mostly on the teacher side today, but there are some other options as well when we look at ways to use Google Classroom. I'm going to jump in here to my demo class. Wait, let me go back to my classes. I'm sorry. I want to do some global Google Classroom settings. First thing out, this goes to all of my classes. I get a lot of things like, how do I not get all these emails? How do I set up different things as a whole classroom in Google Classroom? If you select the 3 lines in the top left-hand corner, at the very bottom are your global settings. I call them the global settings because this goes for everything in Google Classroom. First thing you want to check is, do you want to receive email notifications? When you're first starting out, it can be kind of overwhelming with the amount of emails that you get. However, I do like to keep it on and turn off certain things that I don't need emails for. First of all, I don't need emails when the work's returned to me. So these are classes I've enrolled in. As a teacher, I'm not necessarily going to be enrolled in a lot of classes. But here's where I can turn off some email notifications. I don't want an email every time a student comments on a post. I don't want an email every time that I'm mentioned. However, I do want an email when a student leaves a private comment. This is a fantastic way to stay connected with your students, is by having them leave private comments. And we'll show you how to leave private comments both as a teacher and then as a student. I'll get emails from the students from Google Classroom actually saying that a student left a private comment. Down at the bottom here, late work as well. Once we're back in the classroom, this is a great place to get email notifications when a student turns in work late, or if they resubmit. Maybe I don't want to have an email every time a student resubmits their work. And then some other stuff like that. And here, nothing, you can turn on or off any of these items that you want. So those are the global settings in Google Classroom itself. Now I'm going to dive into the classroom. This is where I'm going to spend most of the time today and give you some examples of how I run a classroom, and then having students join, and then once we'll get rolling with that. So step one is in the classroom itself. I want to go ahead and set up the settings for this classroom. Let me go into my demo class here. So over on the right-hand side is a settings icon. And this is going to be for your classroom itself. This is where you can set up the name again. You can give a description. You can give a room number, the subject that you teach. Here's the important one, the class code. This is what we're going to send out to our students via email, or you can display it in a Zoom meeting. The other thing you can do is disable it. After I've sent out I have my students enroll, if you start getting the feeling that maybe they're sharing this code with other friends in the school or even in the district, and you're getting students on there that you're like, I have no idea who these people are, you can disable this code so no one else can get in. The other one that's important is who can do what on the stream itself. So when I go over what the stream is and the classwork, you can only have the teacher post and comment in the stream. This kind of limits what the students can do, but if you really want to set up a classroom where they can write comments and post things that they find, this is a very collaborative classroom. And so eventually I'd like to work my way towards this sort of opportunity for the students, especially now that we're doing the remote learning. I want them to be able to leave comments and posts. But if you have that class that's just not quite ready for that when you're first starting out, maybe only have the teacher be able to post and comment in the stream. And I'll show you how to manage that as well. Classwork on the stream, you can show condensed or show everything. I don't do deleted items, and we'll talk a little bit about Guardian summaries. This actually just came up today. You can actually generate a Google Meet link right here in your classroom, so visible to the students right there in the classroom. So if you are using Google Meet instead of Zoom, this is a great place. But I literally just came out today. I just saw it come up today when I was logging into Classroom. So new feature, always adding new stuff. Really not going to go over that today, but because we don't have time. Grading, I don't really worry about yet because right now we're not really focused on that. So I want to really move on to the classroom and how to work on it. So I set up some students already in here. As you can see, I have 3 students. One of them goes by the same name, but 2 different addresses. But just to give you an idea of it, I can manage all these students here. You can add new students by typing in their name or email address. So you can invite them via email. So if you get a new student, you can send them an invite and they can be added to your classroom. Another great feature under people is adding co-teachers. So if you do have a coworker, maybe a push-in teacher, or I use it for my instructional assistant in one of my class periods, that I can actually go in and have her leave private comments. She can help the students who are not turning their work in. So she has teacher access. I do not recommend inviting parents or coworkers as students. This is really going to mess up your grading and returning work because they'll be treated like a student. You can invite guardians. This is a great feature. So if you have a student that's parents are concerned about their student, wants to know what's going on, It's always emailing you about what, what's due, why are they late. You can invite the parent. So I always ask the parent, hey, give me an email address. I will email you an invitation, and you can send an email to multiple parents and for one student. So you can have 2 or 3 guardians here. They basically get a report. They can see when things are due, if the student turned it in late, all kinds of nice options here when you invite the guardians. This really helped me a lot with those parents who are really involved and who want to stay on top of their students' work. And so instead of bugging me, I just invite them as a guardian. So that's all under the people area of the Google Classroom. Now I'm going to spend a lot of time on the stream and the classwork area. So the stream, I look at like the Facebook stream, where it's just a list of announcements. So I can announce something to the class. Say let's don't. Don't forget to check out the web link below. I can add various items here. I can add from my Google Drive. I can add a link to an outside web page, a file from my computer, or even a YouTube video to have them watch. So I want to go over, I'm going to show you real quick a link. I'm going to paste in a link here, and it'll just be a hyperlink in the classroom for the students to jump onto. Now, a couple things about the stream is Google Drive and YouTube videos, any files like that are going to be view only, and it's going to be just for them to view. So if I wanted to put a template or something they just wanted to read, I can go into my Google Drive. I can put the presentation that I'm going to be going over this week in there as well. I can add it, and it's going to be a view only. I will show you in the classwork how to actually give every student their own copy of stuff as well. So I use the stream mostly for announcements. You can post it right away. Another option too is next to the word post is scheduling. You can spend, your Monday morning scheduling all of your announcements and have it ready for the week. And you can schedule it for any day, like next week on Tuesday when they come back to school, 8 a.m. I'm going to schedule this announcement. And now it's scheduled up here at the top. So it's a saved announcement here. You can see it's scheduled for April 14th at 8 a.m. A couple other things in the stream that I want to notice is I left it open to students can leave class comments. This is one of the first things that a lot of teachers can come across when they do this, is students start leaving class comments. So you can see, for example, I have a student here who just started writing up random stuff. And I get this a lot in middle school. I know, shocker that middle school students do this. But when they first discover Classroom and they can leave class comments, I don't want to shut it down for everyone. But let's say I have that one student who just can't stop leaving random comments. I'm actually going to mute this student by clicking on the 3 dots next to her comment, and I'm going to mute that student. They can still submit work. They can still reply to everything else. They can still submit work, but they won't be able to post anything. I'm going to also delete that post because it's not useful for our work today. I'm going to mute and delete that post. Now that student can't leave any more comments. We can unmute them from the people section. So as you can see here, that student is now muted because of the red speaker with crossed out. But let's say she learned how to do this right. I've worked with her through some emails and some conversations, and now they're ready to come back on and start being an active member of my classroom. I can unmute them by clicking on the student, actions, unmute. And now that student can now start leaving class comments in the stream. And so you can leave announcements right here in the stream. I leave the same announcement for more than one class. I was going to show you that. So the next thing I want to show you is when I'm going to share something with the class, right up here where it says for, which class do you want to send it to? So I can do it for just one class or all of the classes that I am a part of. As you notice, I can't do the ones that I joined. I don't own those classrooms, so I can't send out announcements to them. But I want to send out that announcement to all my classes right here. Another thing too, I get this a lot for special ed. I want to send this out to just a specific student. For privacy reasons, I maybe don't want to send this out to the entire group. Let me just go back to my demo class here. I can send it to just one student. So I'm just going to send it to that one student. This is a private announcement that will show up on their Google Classroom only, and I can post that to that one student. As you can see here, it's posted to that one student. So maybe you have small groups of students as well, and be able to go to just that individual students or group of students. All right, so let me see if there's anything else on the stream. So like I said, stream is for making announcements to your classroom. The bulk of my time is spent here in the classwork area. How I've divided my classwork up in this example here is by what's called topics. So the first thing I want to show you is how to create different topics. Especially for primary teachers, you'll want to maybe set up some topics for specific areas that you teach. I know that primary teachers, we teach a lot of different subjects. So I'm going to go here to the create button. This is, where I spend a lot of my time creating stuff. I want to create a topic. So the topic is going to be history. I'm going to add that topic. And then that's going to play an important role when I start making assignments, is I can place it in that history one. So as you can see here in this topic, I have an assignment ready to go, and it's going to be placed in there. So let's move on to another create. With this whole remote learning now, I like to just ask a quick check-in question. How are you doing? What do you want to learn today? What is one thing you're proud of? Again, really important to make that connection. So I'm going to ask what I call a quick question, and it's right here under create, a quick question. It's going to be, and it could be a short answer, or if you want to do a multiple choice, you can do multiple choices. Doing great. I'm okay. And then we need to talk. You can also add items from your Google Drive, something to read, a YouTube video that you want them to watch, a file from your computer, or a link to an outside web page like CNN News for Kids, anything like that. So this is going to be just a real quick check-in kind of question. Again, on the right-hand side, we have which classes do you want to send that to? So we can send it to all of our classes, or if you just have the one, again, you can send it to individual students, or to a small group, or to the whole entire class at once. If you want to do an ungraded, just click on the triangle next to the points, and will be ungraded. You can, let me just make this ungraded because we're really not collecting points anymore. And then a due date, if you want to set it up for a due date so you can just keep them on track. And then here's where that topic came in. So if you want to keep your classwork and stuff organized, click on a topic. And let's say this is going to be just a general announcement or a general assignment for the students. If you want them to see the summary, you can click here, or if you turn it off, say you're just getting some information, you don't want the whole class to see how they're doing, turn that off as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and ask the question right now. You can also schedule it. So if you want to set those up ahead of time, you can schedule them. One thing with the scheduling is that it's going to be for one class only. Currently, Google does not allow us to schedule for multiple classes. I've left a ton of feedback to Google. They're still not quite there yet. But like you can see, it was something that they're adding all the time. So I'm getting a couple quick questions on the chat here, just to go back over. If you want to do the Google Meet, that was in the global settings over on the 3 lines on the side. So there's settings here. So we'll take a look at that again. And again, this is being recorded, so you can go back and view that. And I'll be posting more videos on the resource page I'll show you at the end. So now you can see here, I have in Google Classroom PD, I have a how's your day doing? It's due tomorrow. I can open this up and I can see how the class is doing. So I can see right now 0 students have turned it in. There are 3 assigned. And I know Colleen is set up on her screen with the student side. So if I'm going to go on my, bring my, so this is a student side. I'm going to update this. And then here you can see in the stream, I just posted a question. So again, I'm viewing this as a student. So I'm student 1 actually in this class. I can go in here and I can answer my question. Now, here's where a lot of students get confused, and I start seeing when they first start going on Classroom, they'll answer it right here in the class comment. In a question like this—
You want me to share the screen, Corey, or are you good?
I'm good. This is a student version too, so this is, yeah, it'll be fine. Thank you, though. If I leave a class comment like, I really need to talk, this is going to go to the whole class. And I don't think I want my entire class knowing that I need to talk to my teacher. So really kind of show the students that class comments are global. They show to the entire class that is enrolled in your class. Over here on the right, I can have them answer right here. So I'm going to say, you know what, I'm doing great. I've never had this many people in a classroom before. So almost 400 people watching. This is kind of fun. I'm enjoying this. So I'm going to turn this in. Here's an important thing that students need to know. When they turn this work in, they can't make any changes to it. This goes for everything from a Google document to a slideshow. Once they turn it in, it's going to be view only for them. So I can turn it in, and now it's been recorded. Excuse me. As you can see now on the teacher side, so now I'm back on my teacher account, I've turned it in. There's 1 student turned in, and I can get a little bar graph here. If it's a multiple choice, I start getting a bar graph. So that's a quick question. I'm going to move on to a couple other things, and I'm going to make an assignment. An assignment is a little bit more involved, and I like to put these out like at the beginning of the week. Here's your work for the week. So here is a weekly journal that I'd like them to fill out. Please. I'm going to leave some instructions here, and I'm going to add a Google Drive item. I keep everything in Drive. Everything I do is made in Drive, and I'm going to put a journal that I made in Google Slides. So I made a little journal here today, and I'm going to put that in here. The reason I do everything in Google apps, documents, slides, anything like that, is there are 3 options when I put this in an assignment. The students can view the file, and this is when I first started out using Classroom, the students had to go in and make their own copy. And a lot of times that was used as an excuse to, not get their work done. I didn't know how to. Oh my gosh, I didn't know how to make my copy. I couldn't do anything with it. It was view only. Help me, help me, help me. And then Google came out with we'll let everyone onto that file and collaborate together on it. A little bit of warning, as we know, most students are going to be super excited and responsible and happy to work on this collaboratively. And then there's going to be some that are not. Some students will be messing with other people's stuff. So if you say students can edit the file, every student in that class can edit that one file. Not a good idea. I always recommend, this is 95% of the time, will be make a copy for each student. This was a game changer for me when I can send out a copy to each and every student with their name on it. It goes right into their Google Drive and they can work on it. And then I'll show you how I can monitor and leave feedback. So I'm going to make a copy for each one of my students. Once again, on the side here, we have our which classes are for. So if you are an upper grade teacher, you can submit it to all your classes at once. It will make a copy for every single one of your students. So I can send out 100 journals in less than a minute, and every one of them will have their names on them, and it's just really fast and efficient. And then they all start turning them in. I can leave comments. I can give it a point value, a due date, and then once again, a topic. So let's say this is going to be Google Classroom PD. A couple other things on the assignments. If you use rubrics, you can actually add your own rubric. You can create one yourself. You can use one that you've already made, or if you have one in Google Sheets, it'll actually import all of the information you need for it as well. And then the last one here is a new feature for language arts teachers, science teachers like myself. I like to do an originality report. It'll check for basically plagiarism, copying and pasting from the internet, and give you a little report on everybody's progress and work and how they're doing. So check that out. It's a pretty nice little feature. I haven't dove too deep into it, but if we get an opportunity to do more of these sessions, we can dive a little deeper into some of these features as well. So I'm going to go ahead and assign it to the class. And let me pull up my student side here. I'll go back to my classroom and let me refresh. And got it. So here's my oh, oops. Let me get rid of that one, sorry. Ah, there it is. Okay, so let me go back to my student side here. So there it is. There, weekly journal. Okay, so this has been assigned to me. It has my name. I'm student 1, and here's my journal. It will automatically open up a new tab for me, and it'll give me the template that I made the other day. And I can go through and I can start making this. So let me just demo something here. I want us to change the background just so you can see from a teacher side what I can see. So I'm gonna say done. So I'm working on this. I'm being a part of it. On the teacher side, I can go in here to my assignment. I can open up the assignment here, and I can open up student 1. So I know student 1's working on it maybe, and I want to go in, and here's where I can check and see how they're doing. Let me get rid of all that. As you can see here, I can see right away that the student is on there. This is their icon right here. This is their user profile. And oh my, that's way too bad. I'm gonna leave a quick comment on this slide itself. And I'm gonna click add comment up here at the top. It's a little plus sign. And I'm gonna leave a quick comment. Red is too busy. And I'm gonna comment on that student's actual slide itself. Now that student will receive an email, and on their slideshow, it'll actually show that their teacher left a comment right there. So that's a great way to just open up a few students' work. The other thing I can do here is I can scroll through the students and see what they're doing. So right now, I can watch each student as they start to work on their Google Doc. It could be a slideshow, it could be a spreadsheet, Google Drawing, any of those Google apps. I can see right here that they're working on it. And I can just scroll through here, watch each individual student, leave comments on the actual slides. You can go ahead and give them a grade and leave a private comment and return it right here from this tab that you have here from Classroom. So again, I like the idea that each student got their own copy, and I can go ahead and grade it right here in the Google Classroom, or I can open up each individual student's work and see how they're doing. And then go back to my demo class here, and I'll show classwork. And here's your assignment. You can see how many people turned it in, and the how many are still assigned. Let's say it's coming up to the end of our week. I still have 3 students that haven't turned it in yet. I can leave a private comment right here, and it will send them an email saying that your teacher left a private comment. I can leave something saying, hey, this is due tomorrow. Could you please make sure you get it turned in? So I can leave some feedback. Or I can click on all 3 assigned students here, and I can go up here to the email, and I can click on the email, and it will actually open up your Gmail, and it will put in a BCC. This is important too. As a BCC, it'll email each of those students who have not turned their work in. And then you can say, hey, I noticed you didn't turn your work in, and just emailing you to see if I can help you out. So it does blind carbon copy them, so they can't reply to all. They don't know how many people didn't turn it in. It's just an email to them right in from Google Classroom. So again, to do that, just select the ones that are assigned, and you can email them. Let's say student 1, let me go back to my student 1 here. I did my work. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. Let me view the assignment. So as a student now, I can turn this in. If I wanted to add something or create a new item as a student, I can click here and add something, or maybe I found a link to a really great website that helps support my work. Maybe I did a Google Drive option, or I just create a brand new Google drawing, all right here within the assignment. I'm going to turn it in, and I'm going to say, yes, I want to submit all of my work. That slideshow is now view only, and it's been turned into the teacher. Let me refresh this. Now as a teacher side, I can see, oh, that student's turned it in. I can look at it, evaluate it, give them some points for it. Let's say they did an awesome job. They listened to all of my feedback and they made the changes. I'm going to return it to them. I can leave a private comment and return it to them. It's now been returned, and they can either continue working on it, or it's now theirs to work. And yes, they can unsubmit their work. Once it's been turned in, there'll be you can resubmit it right here after you've turned it in. You can unsubmit it and then resubmit it as well if you wanted to. I know a lot of students will pull something back, work on it from the comments I made, and then you can resubmit it, and it'll show up in here as resubmitted. Another thing too is great is when they start turning stuff in, it'll show a timestamp of when they do that. So you can take a screenshot of this. You can let them know that it was turned in at a specific time. It's great for parents to see how many times they went back and forth, all the private comments, things like that. So I always kind of keep an eye out for that timestamp. So once a student turns in their work, it'll come up here to the turned in section. I can grade it and then return it. So let me demonstrate that again real quick. I'm going to resubmit this again. Maybe I made some changes to it as a student. I'm going to turn it in again. On the teacher side here, it'll show that student 1 resubmitted their work. Maybe they did an outstanding job and I'm going to give them some extra credit because they're just an awesome student. That's when the return button activates, when I change their grade. And then return that to them. So that's grading and returning their work. A couple of things on the stream. You can move items to the top. So let's say I want to reuse this post again at the top. If you select the item, click on the 3 dots and move it to the top. This assignment here, I want to move back to the top again. It'll move up to the top of the stream for the students as well. So classwork again, you can create the quick question. And assignments are my 2 big ones. The quiz assignment will actually open up a new Google form, and we can spend a whole 2-hour session on Google Forms. But if you're familiar with Google Forms, it's a really good formative assessment. I do use the quick question here just for one simple quick check-in question. And then the topics and the assignment is probably most of my time is spent making assignments. So I want to do one here. Quote of the month. And I'm going to add a Google Drive that I made. This is a Google Doc that I made the other day. I'm going to scroll here. Here's a quote of the week Google Doc that I made. I'm going to give each student their own copy. And I'm going to assign it to all of my classes. So again, you can select all your classes that you teach. Give it some points, a due date if you want to, a time. Let's say I want to do it by 2:00 p.m. I'm not going to do a topic this time, but again, that's where you do the topics. Assign it. And taking his time. Got a lot of internet going on right now. There it goes. So there's the assignment right here at the top. Again, you can edit it, you can delete it. If you want to send this link out to students via email, so if you communicate a lot through email, you can copy the link and send it out via email and email it out to them and say, here, click on this to go to that assignment. Again, I encourage my students just to stay on classroom.google.com, have it as a tab open all the time. And then you can put all of your assignments and questions, quiz assignments, again, as a Google form. But I build everything up in Google Drive and then insert it in here as well. So, the quote, I can show you what that looks like. I just made this real quick in a Google Doc, and it's just a table that I have all of their stuff in here. But on the student side, let me show you what it would look on the student side here. Again, go back to my demo class. So now I'm a student, and here's the quote of the month. And right here is my work. It's assigned right now, so I can click on it. And again, they'll have the student's name right here, and then the name of the project. And then again, I can work in here, type all my stuff up. And again, as a teacher, I can see that side of it, and then turn it in when I'm done. So I can type up some stuff here, and then when I'm done, I can turn it in, and then it goes into my into the teacher side. off. Okay. I'm going to pause right here because I think we're getting some questions, and I want to take about 15 minutes to review or answer any questions that popped up. So Colleen, do you want to jump in? You can,
All
I'll
right,
stop
can you hear me all right?
Yep. I'll stop my
Okay,
share and
I'm just gonna pop up at the top and I'm going through this. We have a lot, so we may go over over the hour if you don't mind answering questions a little longer. So if we
okay.
haven't gotten to your question, hang in there. We're doing our best to get through them. So I'm gonna go way back to the beginning of your presentation. Mary has a question. She wants to know how someone might do a writing conference on Google Classroom with their students.
So like so like the whole class writing on a single document?
My guess would be more like if the students wrote a paper and she wanted to give feedback to them, like you would normally sit down with a student, or the students would sit down with each other and conference on their
Okay,
paper.
so I would create an assignment. Make sure I'm sharing my screen here. Writing conference. And I'm going to create a new Google Doc because I don't have anything like that right now in my Google Drive. Again, if you had something, I would just add it as a Google Drive item. But let me go ahead and create a new Google Doc. It's going to open up a new tab for me, and it's going to make a Google Doc, and we're going to call this Student Writing Journal. And then you could put instructions up here. Story here. So this is all good. And then in the classroom, this will eventually switch over to whatever I titled it, Student Writing Journal. And again, I would make a copy for each student. This way, every student in the class gets their own copy of this writing journal. Then we can work on, let me assign this. And then what I can do is when I want to meet with a student individually, so not my classroom, but I would have the student walk up and share their writing with me. So instead of doing that, I'm going to click on the 3 assigned. I can see here a little preview of what they're doing. Obviously, no one's writing anything yet, but I can open up student 1 and then say, I want to start having a conversation with them. In the story itself, when they're starting to type, I can highlight, I can leave a comment, which is up here at the top. It's a little plus sign with the call out, and I can leave a quick comment. So this would be me talking to the student. If you want to do something live, like a Zoom meeting or a Google Meets, you would have to share your screen with them, or they shared their screen with you. You could have a conversation with them. But I use a lot of comments. That way it gets emailed to them and it's able to communicate back and forth. Or even a private comment in Google Classroom is another way to communicate with your students privately, one-on-one with a student. So I hope that answered the question.
Okay. So a couple of people have asked about this. Can you hear me still?
Yep.
Okay. I switched headphones and I was a little nervous. A teacher has invited me to his Google Classroom, but I'm getting all of his students' emails. Can I stop this without uninviting him?
Yes.
And then another person too was getting overwhelmed. She's in several classes. She teaches PE, Tasha.
Okay.
And she's been invited to several classes, but it's getting overwhelmed with all of the academic work that's being shared into her drive. So those two kind of, you could tackle that for us.
Okay, yeah. So in the classroom that you own, I'm going to go back up here. So I'm actually I'm the owner of these 3 classes right here. As you can see, these are my students that are enrolled. How many of them? But then I have 2 classes that I'm actually a part of. I'm enrolled in these classes. Globally, I would go here to the 3 lines next to the word Google Classroom, and I'm going to go to my settings at the bottom. And I'm going to either turn off email notifications altogether. So if you're overwhelmed with your emails, just turn them off. Especially if you're just starting out, I just turn off email altogether. Then you can start doing things like turning on things from classes that you teach. and classes you're enrolled in. So for the teachers that are enrolled in other classes, like collaborative and maybe co-teacher, you can turn off all of these email notifications right here. And then, the classes that you teach. Again, I like to leave on late submissions or this one especially. And then also if anybody leaves a private comment, especially now that we're not really in a classroom, I don't know when my students are working on things. So I would definitely leave private comments on the work on, at least the only one, and then turn the rest off. So that would help in that as well. And that's in the global classes settings at the bottom.
Okay, there are a few questions about the codes, classroom codes.
Mm-hmm.
Tammy wants to know if after you've disabled a code, when you were talking about, if someone gave it away,
Right.
can you set a new one for students? And then someone else asked if you were able to create your own codes, like maybe something easier for your students to remember or to use.
Yeah, so like the codes are generated by Google Classroom, so there's no way to do a correct or a unique one for yourself, but you can reset it. So I can do a new one. So let's say end of the year, I still want to use this classroom, but I just want to reset it to a different, now it's a different code. If I want to disable it over the summer so no one can do it, it's disabled now. And when I'm ready, I can enable it again and it'll come up with a new code. So there's a couple different ways that you can pull that code out. But once you disable it, you're not going to get that same code back again. So if you've emailed that out to all your students, I wouldn't change it unless you feel that it's been compromised, I guess. Then you can disable it or just reset it altogether.
Okay, and then someone else wanted to know can you just invite your students to a classroom or do you have to give them the code?
No, so in a class itself, so here's my demo class. As a teacher, you can go to people and you can click on here to the invite students by email. So if you have a list of your students, if it's within your district, you can probably just type in their name and their email address should start showing up within the district email system. But if not, just type in their email addresses. You can also copy and paste it from a spreadsheet, all of their email addresses, and invite them. They would then have to respond to the email saying that you want to join the class.
Okay. Sujin wants to know if there is a way to see when a student has logged into Classroom.
No, there is no way to tell. The only way that you'd be able to tell if they're working on something is going into an assignment that you've given, and I don't do that. Click on the assign students and say, okay, I want to check in with this student. I already know like the 3 or 4 students that are probably going to be working or even not working. I can click on it and it'll go to a live view of that student working on that assignment. And if I see that they're not even logged in, their icon's not up here, I can leave a quick comment. I can leave a private comment as well. I noticed you haven't added anything lately. Could you please start working on this? Private comment and a regular comment on the document will both send an email to the student and let them know that they have a message from their teacher. So that's how I would know if they're working on it or not, is by the little snapshots right here. But there's no way to say who's online and who's not. And unfortunately, this is like, in a classroom, I could tell right away. Not being able to see my students now, this is going to be a little different. I'd have to go in and check every student, leave private comments, email them, like say, these 2 students right here have not turned their work in yet, getting close to the deadline. I would select them, the students that are assigned, and send them a private email reminding them. So those are the ways that I would work around that feature. But that's a nice feature. I'll let Google know.
Yeah. Natasha wants to know, how do you add a picture to the banner of the classroom?
Yes. Creative teachers. over on your main class page, you can select a theme. So they have a bunch of pre-done themes as well. You can select the class theme and change it. You can upload your own photo, but you'd have to either look up the dimensions. You have to have a certain size, so many pixels across and up and down. But honestly, there's enough themes for you to do a lot of classes. So yes, that's a nice little touch.
Right. Alice would like to know, she said, you said Google Meet is new. Do you happen to know if it's like Zoom? And I do. Before that, I'm just going to put a plug in that we did a Google Meet session on Tuesday, which if you go to our website to leagueofschools.org/online PD, you can actually click on the link and get a video recording of that session if you want to go back and watch that. But then I'm going to throw it back to Corey to answer.
Yeah, so yeah, Zoom and Google Meet are both video conferencing apps. Google Meet is built within your Google domain. So you can actually just right here in Classroom under settings. Oh, wait, sorry. Nope. I want to go to my classes. So the settings icon in the corner, you can set up a Meet link right here in the classroom, and it'll just show up in their stream and saying, here's our Google Meet. This is where you're going to click each time. And you're going to jump onto the video conferencing every Tuesday and Wednesday at this time to meet with me. But there, if you're going to do Zoom, you would do something like an announcement, and you just share that link in Google Classroom. Once the Zoom generates a code and a link, you can put it right here in your classroom. You can add a hyperlink to that Zoom meeting as well. So this is what my third grade son's teacher does, is she'll put an announcement. Here's the link for the Zoom meeting. But yeah, Google Meet's the same thing as a Zoom. It's just video conferencing.
Yeah. So Sam has an issue where it appears in the classroom as if there are blank posts. Can those be deleted from the main scroll?
Yes, so if I don't want something, say this is a blank one or a thing, I can just, go to class, those are classwork. So classwork, like this is a draft, I don't want this anymore, you can delete it. Same thing in the stream, if it was an announcement, I can delete the announcement right here. So depending on what it is, if it's just an announcement, you can just click on it. But if it's an assignment, you have to go to classwork and be able to find that assignment in classwork and delete it right here.
Okay, Mary would like to know if she invites the guardian, will that interfere with the student's work? Like that won't interfere. They'll just be allowed to view their child. They can't actually submit their children's work or do anything, right?
Well, you mean the parents do the work for the kids? No, that never happens to me. Yes, I have those kind of parents where I'm like, I just want you to be able to see what's going on. And it really helps keep the parents informed. So whatever kind of like grading system you use, I use PowerSchool, they send you reports. This is the same thing. You can, the guardians can view the work. They can see when things are due. They can, be able to see if it's late, but they can't do anything with the actual assignments. All they can do is view everything when it's due. They can set up reports to be emailed to them. I mean, very powerful stuff as a guardian. And yes, you can invite multiple guardians. So if you have 2 or 3 email addresses from the parents and you want to invite all of them, I've had like 3 parents sometimes on one student, keeping an eye on them and what they're doing.
Kathleen would like to know if she can add co-teachers to her classroom.
Yes, highly recommended if you co-teach or are instructional assistant, add teachers. And you can add up to 20 teachers, I think, to your classroom. Teachers can leave private comments. They can grade work. They can do everything that a teacher can do that I just demonstrated as a teacher. When I first started out, I tried to have a teacher that I worked with as a student, just to get the resources and stuff, but it would actually assign them the work. And when I was grading, I'd have to skip over them. It would show them not turned in. So I don't recommend either inviting parents as students or even teachers. That's why they added this feature up here, add a co-teacher. You can type in their name and they will be able to do everything in the classroom that you could do as a teacher. And just type in their name and email address, and we'll invite them and they're good to go.
Okay, these two, I'm gonna kind of stick these two questions from Lisa and Natasha together because they're very similar. Lisa has found that announcements can't be listed as a topic. So how do you organize that since there's not a search function? And then with that, Natasha wants to know if there's a way to pin an announcement to the top so that it doesn't disappear. Like if it's an important tomorrow is a test, don't forget, here's your study guide.
Yeah, so just quick announcements. Yeah, you can't add anything like a topic or organize it this way because these are just announcements. These are just like, hey, this is what we're going to be doing this week. Here's our weekly agenda. You can add that. There's no pin option, but I do move things to the top quite often. So like every week at the beginning of the week, I'll move this back to the top. And I'll go back
How
up
do
to the
you
top
move
of
that
it.
up to the top?
So it's the three dots next to the assignment or the announcement right here, or it could be an assignment as well, just in that stream, the three dots, and then move to the top.
Oh, okay. That's awesome. Yeah. Our Karina wants to know, are Google Documents for view only live documents if changes are made after the assignment is posted?
So when the student turns in the work, it becomes a view only. I can then leave comments. Once I send it back to them, then it becomes a editable document. It also depends on how you
return work that's not graded, right? So
yes,
if the student
you can
needs
return,
like they submit this much and you say, good, you're on the right path, you can turn it back in.
Right. So them. I can look at this and say, you haven't turned it in yet, but I did take a look at it. I'm going to give you 60 points out of 100, and I'm going to return it to you. And it's going to say they haven't turned it in yet, but I'm going to go ahead and return it anyways, just so you know you got the feedback. And that's right down here under the graded. And they can resubmit it and keep going and over again. But yes, they can turn it in, unsubmit, back and forth as much as they want.
For the record, I would never get a 60 on a journal.
Okay.
Mike wants to know if you can mass add students from roll sheets, or does it need to be done individually? And before you answer that, I'm going to say that we are a minute away from the 2 o'clock hour. So if you need to go, if you have to go hop on another Zoom, do know that the questions will be on the recorded copy that you will get in your email. So I just want everyone to know that. If you want to stick around, Corey can answer questions for a little longer. Yeah.
Yep,
so we'll try to get through as many of these as we can.
So
right.
Yeah, mass import. There is no way yet to import students like through a spreadsheet. What I would do, what I did for this class is you can just actually copy and paste from a spreadsheet, multiple emails, and just type them in or comma separated and be able to do it that way. Honestly, I just send the link out to the students and say, here's the link. Go back here. So here's a link, copy it, paste it into an email and say, here you go. If you've never used Classroom before, beginning of the school year, I would just project this up on the screen and have the kids go into classroom.google.com, join a class, and here's your code. So that's how you would do it from there.
And it looks like in the chat, Kathy has said that she's able to import from Aries. So just depending on the district
you can copy
software.
and paste the emails, email addresses, and import them in that invite area.
Okay. Ricardo has this question that I'm going to lump together with a few others. A lot of people, he's asked, does it have a student view option like Canvas, which a lot of people have asked, how do I see the student view? Is there a way to see that, or do they need to just create like a dummy student?
Oh, yeah, there's no student view. but I know, like for me, I have access to my students' emails and passwords, so I can log in as a student. So just add a new up here. I can go into a guest mode, open a new window, and be that student. So that's what I did with my student view. So I can pull it up. So this was the student view. I just had a new window as a guest and logged in to classroom.google.com as that student. And that's how I would do a student view if you wanted to actually see what the student saw.
Okay. When you post in classwork, like when you create that, does that show up in the stream as well, or will it just be under classwork?
Yes, it shows up in the stream. So you can see here I have the quote of the month in the classwork area. In the classwork area, it is divided by your topics. So that is a nice area I have my students go to most of the time, is go to your classwork, look through here and find out when things are due, work on it through the classwork. But defaulted, it starts at the stream, and you can see here it's in the same, like just a order of how I put them in here. Again, I can move this to the top, and so you can rearrange your stream that way. So some of my students, this is more organized for them. Some of my students like to be in here this way too. They're all connected together. The only thing that's really not in the classwork are announcements. So it doesn't, it's kind of a one-way street that way.
Natasha wanted to know, she said, for quick questions, I noticed that you're able to add YouTube video, etc. Are you able to add a study sync assignment if it's integrated with Google Classroom?
Yes, a lot of third parties are now integrated with Classroom. So if it is, there will be an option. You can definitely use that. I use Newzella or Newzela, and it has a Google Classroom integration. Quizzes has a Classroom integration. So yes, if it has a Classroom integration, you can make announcements, you can make assignments right from that third-party app as well. I'm not familiar with Study Sync as much, so yeah.
Can you return check-in to students like you can assignments?
So the quick question.
Mm-hmm.
So this was a quick question. Yes, I can give them a grade, or if it's ungraded, I can just say, yep, you got it, and I can return it with that. So the quick questions also, you can allow students to reply to each other, which is a really nice feature. So if I were to create a question, you can allow, in short answers, you can actually start a class discussion. You can allow them to reply to each other, and they can edit their answer too as well after they turn it in. So that's another option in the quick question.
Okay, how do you integrate Zoom with Google Classroom? I don't think it has an integration, right? You
it does not integrate.
The link and the password.
Yeah, so I would just put an announcement. This is what my son's third grade teacher does, is she'll have an announcement. Mm-hmm. Here is your Zoom link for today at 1 o'clock. You add a link, and you can just type in the link there, or you can just copy and paste that Zoom information that you get with all the information right here in the share with your classroom. I also like to just have that hyperlink right there as well.
Okay. Whitney wants to know if you make all your own slides, or do you have a resource for generic slides, graphic organizers, etc.? And I feel like you do. You have resources for everything, I feel like.
Yeah, I'm working on a Google Slides videos as well. So on that web link that we're going to send out, there's also a Google Slides. Yes, I just make my own slides and turn them into journals, study guides, things like that. Slides Carnival, Slides Mania are two resources that I use a lot for making really nice journals or study guides, presentations, things like that. So but yeah, a lot of resources out there. You just got to find them.
Yeah. Adiko wants to know, and I apologize if I butchered your name, what is the best method for adding polls for quick checks? Does Google have a polling function?
Yes, so I would do, and I just did this for some teachers, like, what do you want to do for your next professional development? I would create a question. Spirit Day. So this is one of the first questions I asked in when we went on our remote learning challenge. Pajama day, a crazy hair day. And then, so I made it a multiple choice. You can ask it, and then you can start seeing results. Oops, let me go back here. Let me find one. How's your day going? It's in the classwork, sorry.
Is that it at the bottom? What do you want to wear for Spirit Day?
Yeah, let's see when they reply. Go back to my student here. So I'm going to vote movie day. I'm going to turn it in. I'm going to go back to my teacher side here. And here's your live bar graph to see how they're voting. I've actually used this for like student council representatives. So you can see right here quickly, live results. So this is the closest we're going to get to a live result kind of for a quick question. Use a multiple choice.
Okay. Karen wants to know, does she need to make individual copies of the assignment if it's like a PDF file that can't be edited?
Yeah, so a PDF you would have to put into Classroom, into classwork. It will only come across as view only.
Okay.
Just make it a view only for the students. They could then make their own copy or download it into their computer. I use PDFs just as maybe here, read this as an announcement. Read this before the assignment. You can put it in the assignment as a read only and just have them read it over with the PDFs. But the Google apps are the only ones you can make a copy for every student.
Okay. Kimberly Johnson wants to know, does the originality report warn the students before submitting?
I haven't had a chance to use it. I was going to use it on our next research report to try it out because it is a fairly new item. And
okay.
So you can learn more by clicking on that learn more and find out a little bit more about it, and what's possible, but I haven't had a chance to actually play around with it. I was hoping to before we went on break, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it while I'm on break.
Yeah. The question is, can I switch an assignment I created to just be material?
No. Unfortunately, once you set this up, and I've done this before, it's like I set it up, and I forgot to put it into other classes, or I wanted to make changes to it. I didn't schedule it right. Most of the time I just have to go back here and just delete it and start over again. But what I would do is at the beginning of this, maybe over the spring break or when you first start out, just put together all the materials that you would like to use. And again, if you've done it in Classroom, in Google Drive, you can add all of your items here. Another thing is you can add your materials per topic as well. So you can actually make all of your history materials ready to go, all your PDFs, all of your YouTube videos, things like that in your materials section under history, language arts, math, anything like that. So I would start off with materials and topics, and then start building your classwork and your announcements from there.
Okay. We have a teacher who is new to everything and wants to know where her students would access Google Classroom. If I'm correct that this would be something that would come through from their district, right? They would determine whether you can use Google Classroom or not?
Yeah, so Google Classroom, it should be automatically open for the joys of teaching
at home with kids.
Yes.
Well, at least he waited till after 2,
That is true. Yeah, he just woke up. So, so in the admin console, that would be your district office. They have all the different permissions and stuff like that. So, for example, they could turn on Classroom, they could turn off Classroom. They can allow other people outside of your school email address, it's called a domain, to be able to go into Classroom. And so that would have to be a district office decision on what's open and what's closed for the Google Classroom.
All right. Kayla would like to know, is Google Drive easier than adding an attachment like a Word document for the students to edit work?
If you wanted to, like, for example, this quote of the week thing, I built in Google Drive just so I'd have the time to be able to modify it, make it the way I want. My journals and my study guides, I make in Google Slides. I do ahead of time. If I want to do something really quick on the fly, I'm just creating a quick assignment. I want to create something that I haven't done before. Here's where I would create that right then and there. It's usually not as polished, but it is either way is fine. It'll set it up in your drive and you'll have it available forever after that.
Okay. Do the grades save even if you return them to the students? So if you gave me that 60 out of 100 on my journal and you returned it to me and said, work on this and give it to me, like, does that save even if you give it back to me?
Yeah, so it'll give you back with a 60, you return it. I like what you did with it, the improvements. I can give you 100 and return it back to you. And then what I do is I just transfer those, I have a split screen. So I just look at the grades, type it into my grade book. Right now, there's very few that I know of, at least the one that I use, it's not integrated into your grade books. So if you use like PowerSchool or something like that, there's no way for me to transfer that information easily. Not saying it's impossible, but there's no easy way to like one button transfer it over to like a PowerSchool or Aries or something like that, where you keep your grades.
Okay. We are gonna go till about 2 more minutes because I literally have not been able to get this under 75 questions because every time you answer one, we get like 5 back.
And this is why these sessions are usually 2 hours anyway, so it's all good.
Exactly. So thank you everyone who's hanging in with us. We will try to get through this, and maybe after this we can download the questions and Corey and I can like run through and maybe send you a typed up. No promises, but we will do our best to get these questions answered. So Jennifer has a question because she has a shared class and she needs to send out individual lessons to the students within the classroom that she doesn't want the other students to see. How does she do that?
Right. So when I create, let's say just a assignment over here in the, in your classroom, you can select which students you would like to have it sent to. So maybe I have a small group of just these 2 students. I can send the assignment to just them, and then go back and do the same thing again with the 3rd, 4th, 5th student. So I've done this before where I send out like a editable copy of a slideshow just to 4 students, and then the next 4 students, so on and so on. So this would be to send out to individual students. I'm also suggesting that like my special ed teacher, she has one classroom with all of her students. For privacy, so they don't see each other and what they're doing, maybe send it to 1 student, and then definitely use those private comments if you wanted to just work with 1 student individually, like that. So I think that answered that question.
All right, and I think our last question that I'm going to be able to squeeze in here is that how do you place worksheets from TE into Google Classroom for students to work on going paperless?
If they're a Word document or anything that you can get into your Google Drive, I would say put it in your Google Drive and then add it from your Google Drive. If it's a PDF document, it's just going to come across as a PDF document. They may have to download it to actually work on it. I know a lot of publishers will have them as a Word document, which you can then upload into your Drive and be able to have a folder here for all of your Microsoft Office items that will automatically convert into Google Docs.
Okay, I lied. I'm going to squeeze in one more question because I think this person has asked it a couple of times. So they want to know if you could give some examples of how Google Classroom is used with K-3. And I know you are a 7th grade teacher. I also have a 3rd grader who is using Google Classroom. So after you, I can kind of share what his teacher's been doing. So if you have any ideas.
My 3rd grade son his teacher just started when we started the remote learning with Google Classroom. Every day she puts in in the announcements, she'll add a Google Drive item, which is a schedule for the day. She'll also have in there a link to the Zoom meeting if they have one that day. Another good example is she, in a assignment, had the students working on a birthday slide deck for a student that had a birthday. Here's a video of me, so you can add your videos, you can add instructions, a Google drawing to have the kids do stuff on. Just keep it simple. Google Classroom can be a great way to just communicate with students, just to get them started. Maybe just with the quick questions. Each day you ask a quick question. 1 to 5, how are you doing today? Just to kind of get an idea of the students that maybe you want a private comment later on with. So that's how I use it more of a primary grade. Maybe sticking to just quick questions.
Yeah.
Adding an assignment, that's fun.
Yeah, that's my son's teacher has done something similar every day in the stream. She has a daily question, and it's things like, what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? Or, what are the names of your pets, or something like that. And then under the classroom work, she gives us a weekly schedule of what she expects done on each day. But then she's broken up the classroom assignments to section by section. So like ScoopPad is one of the learning platforms they use. So she has a link to that under ScoopPad, so the kids can see that. Or they do a daily journal, so they can click on journal, open up the calendar that shows the topics, and then open up their own document, and they turn that into her every day. She writes a note on it, returns it to them, so they just keep turning it back and forth. So that hopefully those kind of things will help with the K-3 teachers who need that.
Even like every student has their own Google Slides journal, where they can add pictures and take pictures with a webcam. Just simple stuff like that to get them being creative still, sharing what they're learning, just in a different way now.
Okay. Well, thank you, Corey, and thank you everyone who has stayed here for the extra 20 minutes. We'll do our best to try to get through. I'm not sure. I think we can download the questions and then maybe send out a PDF afterwards. It wouldn't be immediate, but we will send you a copy of this recording. So I guess if people aren't here anymore, they won't hear this, but so you'll get all of the questions answered. We'll be sending out a link to Corey's page that we had in the chat that has all kinds of great tutorials for you. And continue to check back on the League of Schools online PD page, because we do have sessions coming up next week on, we have one on SEL and how to deal with the new normal. And we also will be adding things for like Padlet and quizzes and different resources like that. And we do have the recordings from all of our different PD offerings so far. So if you missed, say, Tuesdays about Google Meet, you can go online, download that video, and watch it. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Corey, and have a wonderful day. Stay safe, stay healthy.